Hey guys, welcome to the interesting video on Wild Rift. So we're back with the patch 3.3a review. So, of course with this, we do have quite a number of changes, but none of them too big in my opinion. We also have the release of Kassadin, which is not out as of the recording of this video. I think it should be out, I think a day or two after the patch releases. But yeah, I think it's 24 hours after the patch releases. Here we have Kassadin. So of course we do have a Kassadin event. This one looks pretty interesting. It's 6 days, 1 week or so after he releases. And it's called Kassadin's Trivia. So it appears that it's something to do with questions because it's trivia. So it could be an interesting new kind of event. Perhaps it could be possible to get Kassadin for free in the event. You know that Riot normally is quite generous with their new champions, so it could be the case. Next up, we got the pool party event on 12th of August, with of course the 3 pool party skins releasing. I believe it's Graves, Ziggs, oh actually there's 4, Mundo and Caitlyn, I think. Anyways, we're gonna move on to the champion changes itself. So first up, we have Draven. So they're nerfing Draven's spinning axe, which is his Q, which is of course his main source of damage. They're reducing the AD ratio by 10% because they think it scales a little bit too well. Now personally, how do I think this is going to affect Draven? Personally, not a lot, because in early laning phase, you start off of course with a longsword, so like 10% less AD in the laning phase maybe matters a little bit, but it's not that much AD in the grand scheme of things. Even after you get like one item, it's not too much, I think. So if you are gonna snowball already, you're gonna snowball anyways, and this 10% nerf probably won't affect you too much. And if you're getting stomped on, this 10% nerf is not gonna make it all that much worse for you. So in the grand scheme of things, I think that this change to Draven is not going to matter all that much, despite it being 10% AD ratio. So there's my thoughts on that. So Echo, they want to push him more into the mid lane. So in the jungle, he did get a 30% damage reduction on his Z Drive Resonance. That is his passive. So on his abilities itself, doesn't actually they didn't actually reduce the ability's damage to jungle monsters, only his passive, and you generally proc your passive on a jungle monster only once. Maybe on buffs, I think you might be able to proc it twice. I'm not too sure because I don't play Echo in the jungle. However, I don't think this is going to affect his jungle clear too badly because you don't actually proc your passive that often on jungle monsters anyway, so they didn't hit his spell, so I think Echo jungle is still going to be just fine. But in the meantime, Time Winder, which is his Q, the mana cost is going down by 10 at all levels. This is going to make it a lot more spammable, which of course helps the lane more than the jungle because you don't have mana problems in the jungle, I don't believe. So in the lane, you can spam the Q a lot more against your lane opponent, which is why they're trying to help mid lane Echo. How much do I think he's going to help mid lane Echo? Well, it's just 10 mana per level, so probably not by a lot. And it's probably not going to hurt jungle Echo all that much either, so overall it's kind of not too much of a change for Echo. Now in the meantime, Jay's actually getting a 10% bonus AD ratio on his Q, and that Q is both his Shock Blast and To the Sky, so both the melee and the range form. Personally, I think Jay's was already really good, and this buff to the AD ratio on Q is going to make him a lot stronger, so I think this is actually going to help him by a lot, and he's going to be a really strong like Baron laner. Next up, we have Pyke. So Pyke has been getting a lot of buffs recently. I think this is the 3rd patch in a row he's gotten buffs. My personal thoughts on Pyke is that he is a really hard champion to play. Something like when Katarina first came out, when Riven first came out, they took like 3 patches for people to actually start being good at them. And this now, I think, is the third patch after Pyke's release. So I still think that people need more time to get to know how to play Pyke properly. And I think that at the end of the day, after they keep buffing him, they're going to realize that actually Pyke is not actually that weak. It's just that people have not yet learned him. Now, they did say that players are climbing his mastery curve, but I highly doubt that there are enough people who have enough mastery on Pyke to show how strong Pyke really is. There's only going to be a handful of people who do have that Pyke mastery. But anyways, here are the changes to Pyke. First up, his health growth going up to 125. Now this is actually a really huge buff because considering Pyke cannot get health from any other sources, giving his base health a boost is going to help his survivability by a lot. Next up, his passive, Gift of the Drowned Ones. Instead of 35% damage suffered, it's going to be 45% damage suffered when there are 2 or more enemy champions nearby. This of course helps to sustain if you're able to weave in and out of fights, which is supposed to be Pyke's playstyle. Next up, we have the Phantom Undertow, which is his E, and his E now only deals 25% damage to minions and monsters. Now this is of course trying to nerf Pyke out of mid, top, and jungle, which is not where he's supposed to be played anyway, but we did of course play against a Pyke mid in like my Akshan video that I released yesterday, and also Pyke in the jungle, you do encounter it from time to time. Pyke top a little bit more rare, but you do encounter Pyke in non-support roles from time to time, and in my opinion, he wasn't really good in those roles anyways, and this basically kills your ability to jungle or lane with Pyke, because his E is not going to do any meaningful damage to minions or monsters. Now lastly, Death from Below, skill description has been modified to provide better clarification, so basically it's nothing. So basically the main buffs are these, and he did get the nerf to like all non-support roles, which in my opinion doesn't actually matter because you shouldn't be playing Pyke in those roles anyway. And next up we have Renekton. So Renekton has been getting a lot of buffs as well. Now I'm not really sure why, because I personally feel that Renekton is pretty strong in the Baron lane. However, of course Riot have the stats, so I'm assuming that that is not the case. His Q, healing bonus AD ratio per enemy hit is going up from 8 to 10%. So overall, a slightly more healing for Renekton. Not too big a change, but of course does help. Ruthless Predator, which is his W, base damage per strike is going up by 5, 10, 15 at the later ranks, but on rank 1 is still the same. And the normal base damage at rank 1 also the same, and only at later ranks do you get more damage. And same for the enhanced. So basically at rank 1 everything remains the same, and everything else gets buffed but slightly at later ranks. So if you guys know, you actually max Q on Renekton first, then you max E, and you max W last. So since the base rank damage is not actually changing, this is only a buff to late game Renekton. Like I think like it's level 11 onwards where you start to level up the Ruthless Predator. So in reality, this is kind of not a very huge buff, despite it looking that way, because you only really feel it when you get late enough in the game, and by that point, Renekton kind of starts falling off already, unless you're super fed. So likely you won't really feel this buff all that much, and it's not really worth to max your W before Q or before E. So I think that overall this is a very minor buff to Renekton. Now, the most major nerf of the patch is gonna be Senna. Now, it's really sad because I do love playing Senna. She's really fun to play, but her base attack speed growth is getting cut by a full 1%, from 2.2 to 1.2%. That's huge. So she's gonna be she's already like the slowest attacking ADC, and not really even an ADC. She's kind of supposed to be a support, but she's already the slowest attacking marksman, and this is gonna make her even slower. And her absolution, her passive, when you have the miss on an enemy, the miss trigger damage is going down from 1.6 to 16, and it's going down from 1.2 to 12%. Now, at base level, it's only a 0.4% nerf, which is not too much. But at max rank, that's a 4% nerf. That's a quarter of the damage that you're losing, which is huge. Like, I don't really know why they nerf Senna so much. Like, I didn't really think she was that strong. I think she was in an okay spot, and this is gonna hurt her by a lot. So we're gonna have to see if Senna is still playable. Definitely gonna test her out after in this patch and see what it's all about. But man, this is a huge nerf to Senna. It's gonna hurt her a lot. Next up we have Shen. So Shen's passive key barrier, his shield is going down by 9 points at all rank. Overall, I don't think that's too much. Shouldn't matter too much. Twilight Assault, his Q, enhanced maximum health ratio, going down by 0.5% at all ranks. Now that is his Q, the one that you pull your sword back to you, and enhance, I think it's your next 3 auto attacks. I don't think this is gonna matter all that much as well, because basically the only part that matters about Shen is really his ult and his taunt. The rest of his skills, or rather not even really his ult and his taunt, but I think his Q is the least important skill in terms of all of his skills. Like, you do need the W for the auto attack immune, you do need the E for the mobility and the taunt, and the ult of course is the main point of even picking Shen to of course go cross map and save a teammate or join a fight. His Q only actually really matters like in lane, but unless you're talking about level 1, induction in lane is not really that great. So overall, I think these changes not gonna affect Shin too much. Now, Sona getting a couple of nerfs, because obviously they say she has benefited a little bit too much from the ultimate ability buffs to everybody across the board. So first up, her W, which is the healing one, the Aria of Perseverance. Shield is actually going down at higher rank. So at base rank, it's still the same. I think you max this. Some people max this first actually, but some people max this second. But anyways, at max rank, you're getting a whole 30 shield less. Now that's a pretty significant nerf to the shield. So this is gonna lower Sona's power levels a lot, and her scaling is gonna be worse. Or not her scaling, because this is just base, but the shield is definitely gonna be less. But I think a good Sona and a well-timed shield is still going to, be really good in the late game. And of course, on her ult, the basic ability cooldown reduction is of course going down. So you're gonna get less cooldown reduction on your basic abilities. Of course, as they said, the ability haste buffs have been a little bit too good for Sona, so I guess that kind of makes sense. Her basic abilities are really spammable anyways. Don't think that's gonna matter all that much. And next up, we got Soraka. So Soraka, her wish, which is the ult, base heal is going, let's take a look here, is going down at the second and the third rank, but her AP ratio is actually going up by 5% to sort of compensate. So I'm not too sure what to make of this change, honestly, because honestly, the heal amounts, like reducing the heal by 25 and 50, like reducing the heal by 50 at max rank, is alright, I guess. It's not too big of a change, but giving the extra 5% AP is going to make up for some or most of that, because you do build, of course you actually do build Warmogs, so I guess you don't build full AP, but you would probably get like, Ardent Sensor, Staff of Flowing Water, Harmonic Echoes, those are sort of items that actually do give AP. So when you reach like max rank of your ultimate, you probably have like maybe 3 items, so you would have probably like more Warmogs, Ardent, as well as Staff of Flowing Water, most likely. So it's I think in the end it's probably going to be somewhere around the same, so I don't really think this change is going to affect too much. But yeah, it seems that they've also been targeting Soraka for nerfs. I think this is like the 3rd patch she's gotten nerfed in recent memory. And next up we have Yasuo. So Yasuo, we have the Wanderer passive. Shield is going down only in later ranks, I assume. So base rank is still the same. But the shield duration going down from 2 seconds to 1.5 seconds. Now, I actually really think the Yasuo passive is really, really strong, because you really can't trade with him when he has his passive up. Because even if you're someone who's ranged and you manage to land your spells on him, his passive shield is going to soak up the majority of the damage, and he actually ends up winning the trade. So you really have to remove his passive shield, and then you can trade with Yasuo, which is really, really annoying to deal with in the mid lane, as well, especially in the laning phase, but also, of course, in team fights. So they did nerf his shield amount, but the shield amount only is nerfed at later levels, not at base. So in lane, it's still going to be roughly the same. But the shield duration going down by a quarter of its timing does make a difference, because you can wait out the shield a little bit easier. But overall, I think that this is not going to matter all that much for Yasuo. Alright, next up, the item changes. As we know, there are a couple item changes. So Black Cleaver is basically getting its buff reverted. Now, if you guys remember, it used to be 4% and 6 stacks, and then they buffed it to 5 stacks and 5% for a total of 25%, and now it's total 24%. So the 1% actually doesn't matter. The part that actually matters is the fact you need to get 6 stacks instead of 5. But really, most champions that built Black Cleaver, like think about like Riven, Wukong, or a lot of fighters who built Black Cleaver, Renekton, they're not gonna have too much trouble reaching the 6 stacks anyway. So this is barely a nerf in my opinion. So I don't think Black Cleaver is gonna change. This nerf is gonna change anything much about Black Cleaver. What is gonna change though? Death Dance. Heal on takedown from 15% max health is now going to be 10% max health. Now, I personally felt that this item was absolutely OP. You delayed 30% of the damage that you took, and you could even cleanse it if you get a takedown, and you get 10% of your maximum health, 15% of your max health back on takedown, which is sometimes more than the damage you took to get that takedown. And yeah, that is really, really strong. So I think this nerf is really warranted, and it's gonna, I don't think it's gonna kill the item, but I think it's gonna put the item's power more in line with where it should be. So I think it's a beautiful change. And then we have the Divine Sunderer. So Divine Sunderer cost is going up by 150 gold to 3450. Personally, I think that this nerf is alright. Now it's now gonna be very similar to Triforce. So Triforce is 35-33, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. So it's gonna be really close to Triforce within 100 gold range of it. So this is now really going to make people ask the question of whether to go for Divine Sunderer or to go for Triforce. Think about champions like Irelia, Fiora, Jax. Like, they can go for both. And normally it's like situational, or some people just default to Divine Sunderer because it's cheaper and you hit your item breakpoint sooner. So now it's like basically really similar. Like 100 gold is like 1 or 2 minions worth of gold. So it's really not going to be that big of a goal difference between Divine Sunderer and Triforce. So I think the only real change here is deciding between Divine Sunderer and Triforce. I think whoever normally goes for Divine Sunderer will still go for Divine Sunderer despite this. It's just a little bit more annoying to get a little bit more gold. So next up, Staff of Flowing Water. So in case you didn't know, Staff of Flowing Water actually buffs the AP as well as the ability haste of the person, both the user of the item as well as the person that they healed or shield. So the buff duration is going up from 4 seconds to 6 seconds, which is pretty hefty. But the ability haste granted by the buff is going down by 5. Overall, I think it sort of balances out, especially if you're buffing someone who's AP. It's gonna be more. It's technically a buff overall. But yeah, so it's really, in my opinion, this isn't really gonna change anything. Next up, we got the last change, Domination Scorch. Early game damage going up by 4 and late game damage going up by 3. So basically it's a roughly 3 or 4 damage increase across the board. Now I really think Scorch doesn't really have a place in the meta because laning phase is really quite negligible. Not quite negligible, that's not the right word for it, but it really is. Like, it's really too short. Like, even with the dragon being pushed back to dragon and herald being pushed back to 5 minutes, people still group for the dragon and herald at 5 minutes. And even though tower plates fall at 6:30, basically laning phase is sort of over at 5 minutes, because 5 minutes to 6:30 you're pretty much going to be fighting over herald and dragon, and so pretty much only the first 5 minutes of the game is laning phase. And considering it takes time for minions to reach the lane and all that, basically you only have 4 minutes of laning phase. So it's really not worth to take a laning phase rune, because you only have a really small window to use it effectively. So Scorch, I don't think will really be that good unless the numbers are absolutely insane. So next up, of course, we got the skins. A whole host of skins coming on this particular patch. And yeah, accessories. And that's pretty much it, guys. So thank you guys so much for watching this video, and goodbye.